Carroll. I'm the executive. You want me to start over again? You guys are making me nervous right now.
And the building we were in 2000, this is what I do remember about your interview. The building we were in, we went all over DC and we hit the CD stuff last. Remember this? And that building turned off the AC was like automatically shut down at 5 o'clock. And we were in there at like 5:30, 6 o'clock.
The one we were in?
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember
there was
that.
some kind of climate control issue. We're like, oh yeah, it's because it seemed.
And were we all sweating?
We were dying. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Back then the lights were really bright. Your face was brutal.
All right. Well, let me try that again.
Okay. Name and title.
Mark Carroll, Executive Vice President here in the DC region. I started with Skanska back in 2009.
Okay. So this film is kind of a 10-year retrospective where we get some anecdotal stories about what those first 10 years were like.
Right.
Here for all of that. And a little bit of forward-looking, what we see on the horizon for the next 2 years.
Okay, good.
So, tell me what the early days were like. So for commercial development, but also commercial development here in DC. Any color, what was the initial office setup like? Who was on the team when you first came on? What was the vibe?
Sure. Well, I started in 2009. I was actually a consultant. And the only people who were working for the platform was Rob Ward and Mark Johnson. We're here in D.C. And they were renting office space out in Reston, an individual office. And I came on just to support their effort into trying to find new work. It was very entrepreneurial. It was very, the atmosphere was very collaborative, and you did whatever needed to get done. And that meant whether it was going out and touring sites, to ordering new paper for the copier, to whatever needed to get done was kind of the environment. When I came on board full-time, we stayed out in that office out in Reston, and we just shared an office, directly across from each other. Mark and I worked every day, as close as can be, and it was just really exciting. It was new. There was a lot of unknowns about it, but I think what was really cool was it was this kind of visionary initiative to do something new in the company and the market, but it had all the support of this very strong, financially sound company. So there wasn't the uncertainty of, can we pull this off economically, because we had this strong backing of the company, yet it was this kind of new entrepreneurial initiative. So it was really kind of neat and exciting and challenging. So there was a lot of different avenues that you'd go down because we didn't have certain standards or processes, and you just tried to do what you knew best. So it was pretty fun.
So we didn't have uncertainty internally, right? Like we knew we could back it. We had the confidence to do that. But to the market, what were those early conversations like when you show up and say, we're Skanska, we're a developer now, we'd like to talk to you about a lease or this piece of land? Like what was that like?
It was interesting for a couple of reasons. When we first came into the market, the people who didn't know us knew us as a construction company. And so I think the first reaction from the market was, here's a bunch of contractors who are trying to do development, and there was a lot of skepticism. I think once you had the opportunity to talk to people about the overall Skanska platform and the vision for being a company that would finance, develop, and build, some people became early believers, especially if they're interested in doing business with us, or they knew the Skanska brand. But it was this ongoing effort to educate the market. And it took a long time, I would say, for people to recognize us as something other than a builder. Because I think you have to do that first project and then that second project before you're a proven entity as a developer in the market. And I think the Skanska brand and the ability to point to development that we'd done in the Nordics and Europe really helped us kind of support that position. And then obviously the success of the first projects, I think once that happened, there was kind of a reality that we were here and we were here to stay.
Was there much of a reaction to building on spec in DC in 2009?
Yes, there was a very big reaction, and I think a lot of people thought that we were a little bit crazy. But I think it made a lot of sense because we believed in the product, we could finance it ourselves, and that, I think, gave us a little bit of edge of proving to the market that we were more than just a contractor, that we had a real business plan and approach. And the success of that really, I think, proved to the market that our business model made sense and that we were willing to look a little bit forward from where the market was at the time and see that there was real opportunity for us here in DC.
Do you have a little, is it coming through on that? Okay.
Squeaking of the chair?
I think it's either the chair or your shoes, but it's probably far enough away from the mic. I can hear it, but it's coming up. Let's try that.
Okay.
Nothing else. I think that was probably it. Okay, so let's talk about 10th and G. Remind me what point were you brought on for 10th and G, or were you here before we acquired?
No, I was brought on when we were in the acquisition mode of 10th and G. So they had already identified the site, and we were doing the due diligence, and I came on board. Again, I was supporting on a consulting role, and once the deal became real, I joined full-time. And the job was pretty far designed by a previous developer at the time. So when it came on board, we'd finalized the deal with the previous owner, and then we went through a redesign effort, and we started construction pretty shortly after that.
So tell me, and this video will show your meeting, so it's partly an internal cheerleading video, but we'll also repurpose it for an external cut, right? And
Okay.
This is the story of Scanscope for the first 10 years in our commercial development practice. So for an internal audience, tell me the story of 10th and G. We'll take it in a few pieces, but from the beginning, since you were involved in that due diligence phase, what was appealing about it to us as a project, and why did it check all the boxes? Because it was not only our first DC development, it's the first test case for Scansby USA commercial development.
Yeah.
Why was it the right project to be our first?
Well, I think it was a great first project, first because of the location of the building. I think we felt like we had found a site that was right in the core of CBD in the East End, which is really the strong office market here in DC. So to find that type of site was unique. I think the second aspect about it that was attractive was there was a certain amount of work effort that had already gone in. The site had been designed and entitled, and we could start construction within a short time period. So we were able to secure a first project and be able to execute on it very quickly and get into the market and get our name out there and really try to make a presence in the market. And I think because the project was far along and we could start with construction, it gave it a lot of visibility. And then with the early successes of the leases, that just gained more traction and proved our business model. It was really recognized for a high-quality design. It also had a partnership with a church, which made it unique. And it kind of was a great story to tell that we were redeveloping this parcel along with a church. So it was a complicated project that we were able to take over and execute very well. And at the end of the day, the church was able to get a great new facility, and we were able to provide a new home for many tenants. And it's really been a project that I've been very proud of and often go back to and talk to the people at the church, and they're very proud of it. So, right out of the gates, it was a big success.
Do you remember the first lease on that one?
The first lease was with NAM, the National Association of Manufacturers. And I was just talking about this the other day with somebody. I ran into the broker for that. And it was an exciting thing for us because we did go spec on the project. There was a lot of people in the market who felt like because of the economic conditions, it was going to be tough to lease that project. And I think getting them on board, very reputable group, they were very excited about the project. Getting them to recognize the value of the building and to see the features of the building that were going to be make it a great home for them was exciting for us. It was kind of proving our theory, and they were very supportive of the things that we were trying to do with the design, as well as the combination with the church and trying to create this really unique project. And I think for them, they're still a tenant there. They found it to be a great home, and it was one of those really feel-good moments for both parties.
Were you personally worried until then? Like, did you have a huge sense of personal relief when the first lease signed, or did you think it would be? Did you have a sense in the market that the building would lease? The big experiment for Skanska, first building, first lease. Like, how did you feel?
I think we had a lot of confidence in the building and in our design. I think the thing that was a challenge is really where the market was at. If you're talking about 2009, 2010, there was a lot of uncertainty in the market, and there were a lot of people who weren't making big decisions about economic investment. So the thought was maybe people who have tenants that are looking for a new home, they might not want to invest during that time period because there was a lot of uncertainty. So I think we felt confident in it. I think securing the tenant gave us a reassurance that we made the right decision to go spec. But, you know, we believed in the project to a great extent, where we always knew we were going to lease it. It was a great building, a great location, and it's just that kind of getting that first one across the finish line made you feel good about it. And then after that, it felt like, you know, we gained a lot of interest. Once the market knew that we were starting to get leases, we had a lot of people coming by and looking.
Did we have a chance on that one to put our stamp on the design? You said it was already designed when we acquired it. Construction had already begun. What opportunities did we have to put that Skanska stamp on it that made it a high-quality building that we had confidence in?
Yeah, we did. We actually started that as soon as we got into the acquisition process. We brought in an interior architect, and we looked at the whole layout of the floor plates, and we looked at ways that we could maximize the efficiency of the building and change some of the internal layout. And we made modifications to the design that created different opportunities. We made a much more efficient floor plate, more focused on the customer. And we brought in a tenant architect to do that because we wanted to have that customer focus. And I think what proved through that exercise was a more efficient floor plate, a design that was more focused on the customer needs rather than designing from the outside. We took an approach of designing from the inside out versus the outside in. So we worked within the kind of general concept and vision of the building, but we modified it to meet the tenant needs, which is kind of the approach that we always take, kind of that design from the inside out with the tenant in mind versus from the outside in, where you're not considering all the aspects of the tenant improvements.
Yeah. And we're doing a deep dive on 10th and G. It'll be a spin-off series as well. So we'll have the main 10-year anniversary film, and then we have a deep dive on 10th and G as the first.
The project that keeps giving, huh?
Yeah, the first project, and it's our first investment as well, which is the next thing I'll ask you about, is the investment piece of it. And then we'll move on. Okay. So tell me from there, like we get the first tenant, how did leasing go from there, and then walk me all the way through to when we divested the property?
You know, once we got the first tenant, we seemed to see a lot more activity coming from the brokerage community. And then, you know, once the press got word of it, the real estate community started to recognize the building. And then the leasing activity seemed to move along very quickly. And a couple of the leases came in. We had a group that came in, Sound Exchange, and they were really excited about the building, and they wanted to move it along very quickly. They took a lot of the upper floor space, and they ended up taking more space even after we divested the building. But we got the building to a point where it was substantially leased, and it made sense to divest in the market. And once we put it out in the market, the unique design of it, the kind of story behind the building was really well known in the market, so it gained a lot of interest. And it was a very successful divestment for us. And even after we sold it, Sound Exchange wanted more and more space. They took some lower level space. And the building again sold within about a 2-year time period, a very successful sale at that point as well. So that project has sold twice since we developed it, each one of them really setting records in the market.
Good. Okay, so how did that overlap? And we don't have to have exact dates, but approximately with the development of 10th and G, when did we start our second one? Which would have been this one, right? 1776.
That would have been, yeah, 17.
We bought some land, but we didn't start.
We bought this land. We bought 1776, the property, after we started 10th and G, and that was within a 1.5-year time period. And there was some redesign work that we did on this building as well. And we started construction on this during the same time period that we were building 10th and G. And it's probably about a 2011 time period that we started this building, and leasing on this building went very well. And again, similar story to 733 10th Street, we were able to get substantial leasing in the building and then sell this, and very successful sale of this building as well. I'm not familiar, I don't know the exact time frames.
That's okay. I don't know that we'll dig into that level of detail. I just wanted to kind of get the progression, which I think we've got. What have we learned in 10 years? What do you see as some of the biggest learnings, or one of the biggest learnings?
We've learned a lot in 10 years, so it's hard to determine what's. One of the things that I think, for me, has been really great about what the platform provides is the return on investment in a number of things. One, really quality design that's focused on the tenant and the tenant needs. Two, a focus on sustainability. There's really a recognition in the market that the tenants and I think the real estate community really wants to focus on sustainable design and sustainable buildings. And I think I've learned that that's really important in the market. I've also recognized the value of brand, and being able to have a company that can support those type of initiatives that are focused on the tenant needs, focused on innovation, focused on improving your product. At the end of the day, it does get recognized when you invest in the building, when you're focused on what the tenant's needs are. And the people who buy our buildings, they value that. And they value that not only in the product that we deliver, but also in the brand. They know that the brand focuses on those type of important aspects of our buildings that, for the long run, is valuable to them as buyers.
Talk about the DC foray into DC commercial office, into residential. So at what point, again, did we decide to go into that? How's it going? Where are we with our first residential multifamily in DC?
So, the residential market here has done very well since the downturn. And for a while, we had been looking at, residential opportunities. We knew it needed to be the right opportunity, and we needed to be confident that it was in a market that made sense for us. The first opportunity came when we were looking at some sites that were adjacent to property that we had bought in the NoMa submarket. We had bought 2 properties at 44 and 88 that we were designing as office, and there was 2 adjacent landowners who were selling their properties or wanted to sell their properties. The site that we were looking at just made more sense to be residential, and it was in a submarket that we we're already invested in, and that we're seeing a lot of residential growth. And that market to date has seen tremendous amount of redevelopment for multifamily. We originally purchased the site probably about 3 or 4 years ago, and we've developed it for 326 units. It's called Risa, which means journey in Swedish. And it's kind of got a little bit of a Scandinavian design, so it's bringing a little bit of our Skanska brand into the market. But we're really excited about it. Again, we've really focused on what the tenants in that market, the demographics, the people that are moving to that market are looking for. We've got some really high-quality amenities, great floor plans, and we think it's going to be a building that's very different from anything else in that market. And we're already seeing the feedback on it just from a standpoint of, again, focused on quality design and sustainability and how that's recognized in the market.
And that one, not for this, for me, we'll try to sell before we start putting people in it. Is that the idea?
Yeah, it's, the idea is that it's due to a couple business strategies, but we will likely try to sell that before we put people in it.
Have we started anything on 44 or 88 yet?
We have not started anything on 44 and 88.
Okay. So you have had, I imagine, a hand in building this team. That's now, there was 2 of you in a tiny spot,
Yeah,
right?
that's right.
So as you built out this team over the past decade, what have been the guiding principles that we recruit for? I know we hire for different things, for different types of position, right? You might hire for one thing that's different than another, but what characteristics make someone the right fit for this team?
When we look at hiring for our people, we try to look for, we use the term like a generalist or someone who can play a lot of different positions. And I think that grows out of a little bit of the history of developing the team, because early on we needed people who could do everything, whether it was acquisitions and underwriting to entitlement, managing design, construction, and divestment. When you're working on a small team like we started, you just have to do all those different things. You do what's necessary. And so you develop kind of a culture of, someone who can handle a lot of those different things, as opposed to hiring for just one role or one task. So one of the things that we look for is, I guess, what I would call an all-around athlete, and someone who can kind of come in and be collaborative and do all the different aspects and want to learn it, have a passion for development, and want to learn all the different aspects of real estate, from acquisitions all the way through divestment. As part of that, we try to look at what each person brings to the table. And what I mean by that is we focus on a diversity of thought and a diversity of background. And if you looked at our team here, you would look at a lot of their backgrounds academically and professionally that are wide-ranging. They're not everybody is an architect or with a construction background. We have people with a marketing background or a finance background or market research. So we feel like when we build the team, we're trying to have really kind of a diverse group that brings a lot of diverse thinking and background, because there's more creativity and more innovation by having all the different viewpoints. And I think that's what's kind of created a great dynamic, because we all kind of work off of each other, but we can also challenge each other because we come from different training and different previous professional experience.
Okay. Big question, esoteric question. You've been here for 13 years. Where do you see commercial development in the next 10 years? What do you see on the horizon?
I see growth. I see refinement. I see, the first 10 years in the scan of a business is that you're still pretty young. And you go through a lot of different evolutions to get to where we are today. I feel like we've got a really strong hold and great brand in the market. I think we need to build on the brand, and I think we need to refine the platform to really be the best in the market. And the platform gives us the ability to finance, develop, and build, and we have all those great aspects of the company that differentiate us. And I think 10 years from now, what we need to do is capitalize on why we're different, become, the best developer in this market and in the markets that we're in now. But I also think it creates us to have more of a national growth opportunity and grow into new markets and expand the platform across the United States. And I think that's where the opportunity is, because we do have a really strong foundation right now. And now I think we need to build off the foundation in each region and nationally.
How do we, so this is a bit of a detailed question, this wouldn't be in our external brand film, right? But some of our early successes were partly because of timing, right? So 10th and G, we were able to come in and swoop in and get these opportunities because the market was at the bottom, we got things at a great value, and then we're able to sell them when things were going better. So how have we adapted when, since that time, for 10 years, the economy's been a straight line up, so that we still are able to find the right opportunities? How do we, because as long as we still have cash in the next downturn, we'll be ready again, right, for those kind of things.
Right.
But what have we done in the meantime while we're waiting for that to come? How do we succeed in all types of economic climates?
Well, I think we see any type of downturn as an opportunity to buy. I think because where we are in the cycle right now, we're in the later stage of a cycle, we've tried to be more strategic and focused on locations for new acquisitions in a market that we know will be secure even in a downturn. A great site is a great site, whether it's a good economy or a bad economy, so that tends to be our approach. And then we also try to focus on diversifying our products. We do office and we do multifamily, and they often take different cycles. And so I think by diversifying our products and diversifying locations, but also being, core locations, it's helped us plan for what could be the next downturn. And I think that gives us the ability to, be stable if there is a downturn, but also be in a position to buy with new opportunities because of our financial strength.
Are we interested in diversifying any further? So there's residential, there's office, but in any other, the first one in Boston was the lab building. Do you see us diversifying in any other sectors?
I think there's certainly an interest. I think we have to be smart about it. The lab product is certainly something that we're looking at. So I think we need to be looking around to see what other opportunities there are for us. I think we just need to be smart about how we approach it.
Good. All right. We've gone past our half hour. I think that what personally keeps you here?
I think every day is a challenge. I'm excited to kind of come into work and work with the people that are here. We have a really good group of people, and the opportunity we have with the platform is unique from other places because it does give us a lot of freedom to do things differently and expand. I think we're still growing, and that's exciting to me. I think we're still changing. I think there's new opportunities for us, and that's what keeps me here. I think it's the people and the opportunity, and between those two, I think there's a lot of exciting things going on, and a lot of growth in the future. And what's great is I think the company supports it. So that's what keeps me coming in every day.
Good. Okay. If you have a minute, it's 11:11. Are you okay?
Sure.
We can stop this one and reset them. So in addition to this, for the meetings, this is just internal for fun.